I'm Kyle.
And I'm Scott.
This is Crushing Trails and Drinking Ales. So between Scott and I, we have had 5 attempts at the Barkley Fall Classic. Unfortunately, neither of us have ever gotten a Croy. We do feel that we have a lot of knowledge, everything that goes along with Barkley Fall Classic, and just kind of want to help out to people who are coming along for the first time or may have some questions. We recommend joining the Facebook group for Barkley Fall Classic. If you have any additional questions, you can ask in there, but expect some sarcasm in the responses you get, so just note that before you fire off any questions. How do you get into the Barkley Fall Classic, Scott?
Registration typically goes live a couple weeks after the race, usually late September, maybe early October, just depending on the date of the race itself. So you just got to get on Ultra Sign Up, put in your info, and then wait. Historically, we've seen it kind of October to November timeframe as far as when the results are kind of posted. So you'll get an email letting you know either you got in, which is fantastic, or you're on the wait list. And the wait list is not like a normal wait list.
It's not numerically ordered. You really have no idea where you're at, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be training, because there is a chance, even if you didn't get in immediately, that you may get in at some point down the line, even as close as to like pretty much right before the race. We see in May, there tends to be a pretty big drop off when the final 90% refund is offered. So when that exodus occurs, you may have an opportunity. So just start training right off the bat.
Train like you're in. If you really want to run this race, you probably can. I know historically we've kind of seen a last minute email from Laz to people on the wait list that basically says, if you can get here, you can run.
Yeah, and if you are training, we've done some videos in the past that kind of touched on how we've trained. And note, once again, we haven't gotten a 50K finish yet, so consider that. We do have another video that we plan after this one that's going to kind of touch on what we've done to get ready for this year, kind of taking the knowledge that we have from our past attempts. When the time comes to get out there, where do you recommend on flying into?
Yeah, so the easiest thing to do is just to fly straight into Knoxville. It's about a 45-minute drive up to the Wartburg, Frozen Head area, so you definitely need to rent a car as well. But, I've seen people that have flown into either Atlanta or Nashville and driven over, but I think it's easier just to fly into Knoxville and be done with it. Airport's pretty small, easy to get in and out of. On your way out, don't get there too early because there's not a whole lot to do. The Ruby Tuesday is the only place to get a beer, and it's usually pretty packed.
Yeah, so if you're like us and you want to enjoy a cold one after attempting such a large feat, maybe grab one before you make it to the airport. Don't hold your breath. You're going to get into the Ruby Tuesday before your flight takes off.
There's definitely a lot of great breweries in Knoxville. It's a pretty town too, so you can, even if you just want to walk around campus or along the river, there's plenty to do in Knoxville to kill some time instead of just sitting at the airport.
Yeah, and when you are first getting in, obviously you're going to have to make your way over to Wartburg area and find somewhere to stay. Us personally, we both stayed at the Murder Motel in Harriman, which was formerly the Travel Lodge and seems to have rebranded to the OYO, so kind of looks like a lateral move in terms of quality. It's cheap and usually available.
And footnote, there were no actual murders at the hotel that we're aware of.
It's just a very cost-effective motel as a last-minute resort, so... And you have the Cracker Barrel right next door. But there's other options, too. We stayed in an Airbnb last year, and that's what we're going to be doing again this year. So, the surrounding area, like Harriman, Oak Ridge, those places, it's like roughly 30 minutes to Wartburg. If you like to wake up on your drive in the morning and kind of feel a little ready before the race, don't be worried if there's nothing available in Wartburg when you go to book. The surrounding area is absolutely fine.
Oh yeah, for sure. And another option is camping. So the campsites in the park itself in Frozen Heads, they fill up pretty quickly. So you're definitely not going to find one of those this year unless somebody's canceling or dropping out. But if you're looking for to run in 26 or something like that, you want to book those campsites as soon as possible. But there are other campgrounds in the area, as well as some other parks and some places that you can camp as well. So you got those options if you want to rough it.
I've even seen people who have driven in, they say that they just sleep in the Walmart parking lot over in Harriman. Once you get in that day on Friday, you got to go over to the packet pickup. So, what's that all about?
So you don't have to go to packet pickup. You can get your stuff the morning of the race, but I highly, highly recommend going in to packet pickup because that is where you're going to get a copy of the map, and it can be very advantageous to study that ahead of time.
Absolutely, especially if it's your first time. Having the opportunity to chat with a veteran who's run it and kind of help you understand what you're looking at on the map is very helpful.
You really don't know what you're getting yourself into until you get out on those trails, but it can be advantageous to kind of review some of the stuff and get a little bit of intel prior to the race.
This isn't an actual course map. This is something you can get at the visitor center that just shows it off. But the actual maps you receive are very similar. It's a cloth, so don't be afraid to take it with you and then pull it out on the course because it's going to help if you are at any point not sure where you're at. It's worth noting because there are some things that are not allowed, such as GPS. So the map is going to be your only way to really know where you're at out on the course.
Yeah, for sure. And, we'll go into things that are allowed, not allowed here in a second. But I guess before we jump over to that, Kyle, do you want to talk about the getting to packet pickup? Because I know that can be a little challenging.
Every year there seems to be an issue, so they provide a very clear map. And we'll put that up on screen just so you know where you're going. Honestly, I've never had an issue getting there, but it seems like every year in the Facebook group, there's always discussion about people taking a wrong turn and ending up, I think it's like private property. So we'll help make sure you get to exactly where you're going.
Let's talk about what's allowed and what's not allowed at the race.
So we mentioned GPS isn't allowed. Bring the map so you have it.
Because you can't bring your Garmin, you definitely want to make sure you've got a watch. So the only types of watches that are allowed are non-GPS watch. So go to Walmart or Target or wherever, pick one of these guys up. One recommendation I would make, because I made the mistake the first year, I tried to be silly with it and I bought a Baby Yoda watch. It was not waterproof and we got a lot of rain the first year. And so the screen actually fogged over. I couldn't see what time it was, so I had no idea where I was in relation to cutoffs. So that definitely didn't help at all. So I would recommend, even if you get a cheap one, make sure that it's waterproof.
Yeah, definitely not waterproof. This Pack City one here is going out for its 4th year in a row. It's still working for me, so just something cheap, but it's lasted. And, another thing you can't use is poles, but you can grab some sticks from the woods if you like using poles, and I do recommend it. They've helped me in the past as a way to kind of, work your way up some of this steeper stuff.
For some of the off-trail sections, I didn't personally like having a stick in my hands just because it is a lot of crawling and using your hands to get up some of the climbs. So I dropped my stick before I got into the off-trail sections. But I know, Kyle, you've taken yours with you.
I have, and sometimes I grip it a little bit lower and then use one hand and kind of use the point of the stick to basically climb up the hill. But on certain parts, like on Ratshaw, there's the cable you can use to climb up, and it's kind of tough to be fumbling with a stick and stuff. So you may end up dropping it, maybe picking up another one later. But it's for someone who's used them in the past, I do recommend going that route.
Speaking of the cable and some of the kind of climbing and stuff that you have to do, one other thing that is allowed and highly recommended, go pick up a pair of gloves. I would also recommend probably getting leather or something that's going to be pretty durable, because you're going to be going through some rough stuff. And you definitely want gloves for some of the off-trail stuff where you will be grabbing a cable or branches or thorns or whatever. So definitely recommend grabbing some gloves. These have a reinforced palm, which was kind of nice as well. So I'll be using these guys again.
I've gone with leather every attempt. One year, though, I did slide down Ratshaw while holding the cable and had a blowout on my leather glove. So that was a whole thing. But they've been pretty reliable for the most part.
They do get a little warm, but you're only really going to be wearing them for the off-trail sections for the most part, because you won't need them when you're on the park trails. There's nothing that you're going to be climbing or really needing to use your hands for. So you just pull your gloves off and shove them in your in your vest or belt or whatever that you're using to carry stuff.
Yeah, and other things that are in your vest that you can't have are goo packets. Those ones with the pullable tabs. They end up getting left on the trail. And no littering is an aspect of this race. And really, it should be in any race. If you're out there just dropping things on the ground, you shouldn't be on the trails. Go back to road running where you can just drop your shit while you're running and, get off the trails.
No littering. And speaking of nutrition, one other thing you can't do is you can't have drop bags anywhere. So you want to make sure that you've got all of your gear and nutrition on you because you'll have to carry it the entire time. Or if you need some additional nutrition, hydration, you can get those at the aid stations. They're not too far spread out mileage-wise, but just know you're going to be going through some pretty rough terrain. So time-wise, that stretch could actually be pretty long, even if it's only a few miles, just because it's going to take you a while to make that distance. But overall, I mean, the aid stations, pretty standard fare. I mean, I thought they were pretty solid. I never had any issues getting anything. I know they were last year they were running out of water at one of them, but then they ended up bringing more in, and it wasn't an issue.
I mean, the aid stations have been pretty solid for me in the times I've run it. And, opportunity to shout out the Coalfield football team. Those guys all come out, man an aid station. And, it's pretty awesome to have their support along the way. It's always nice to chat with them when you're coming in and out. So, appreciate you guys for being out there.
Yeah, for sure. And we haven't been able to do it just because of the travel schedules, but the night before you can actually go to the game, to their football game, watch them play, and they actually bring the runners out onto the field at halftime, and everybody gives them a big ovation. So that's definitely something to check out. Hopefully maybe we can make it this year, but it just hasn't worked out in past years.
No, we have not been able to get the glory of being out on the field, unfortunately. But one of the other things that you can't have out there is a pacer. You got to do this on your own, Maybe pick up a racer pacer with you, someone who's kind of moving at the same click as you, but no friends, family joining you out there.
No pacers, no crew. So, if you are traveling in with friends and family, they probably should just go find something else to do for the day. Because you can't really have spectators. I mean, there will be some people that hike up to the fire tower, and then obviously there'll be people at the start finish, and along the park road. Sometimes you'll see some people at some of the crossings, but there's really not a lot of opportunity to see your runner anyway. If you've got people coming, just make sure they're prepared to go entertain themselves.
And there's a lot to see out on the park trails. Get a little hiking in as long as they're not trying to hunt you down. Speaking of the park trails, obviously, a big aspect of this is the power line cuts. The rat jaw, testicle spectacle, meth lab. That's a big draw because you can't touch those outside of the Barkley Marathons or Barkley Fall Classic. But the trails at Frozen Head State Park themselves are pretty intense. So let's get into, every year it's new, so you don't know what you're going to get. But we have some experience now on the park trails and can kind of share what we've gone through just going through Frozen Head.
Those park trails are definitely not easy. They're not for the faint of heart, even though they are established trails, very challenging. If we just want to start with one, probably because it's fresh in my memory from last year, Chimney Top, that trail, I feel like it never stops climbing. Even when you're going downhill, it feels like you're climbing. It's not super technical. It's not like the footing's really that bad, but there are some really steep sections, and it feels like it just keeps going forever.
That's where you see the people leaned up against the tree or sitting on a rock if something's available, just trying to catch their breath and press on from there.
Obviously, it depends on what direction you're going. We're talking about it if you're ascending the trail, but that trail has about 1,700 feet of climbing on it, so it's definitely rough.
Yeah, and it's like 7 miles long, give or take, but the climbing's all on the front end. Before you even get halfway through, you've pretty much done most of the climbing.
Speaking of steep trails, I guess we can just jump over and talk about Bird Mountain.
Bird and North Bird, so we can kind of talk about the loop maybe, roughly 7 to 8 miles long. And depending on how you're approaching this, it can get up to like 2,700 feet of gain in that stretch.
If you're going all the way up North Bird, it's like 2,700 feet of gain. I've not done that top section of North Bird, but I've been up Bird Mountain, which I think is, if I'm remembering correctly, is 23 switchbacks. before you get onto North Bird. And there's some, there's other connecting trails up there. So depending on how the course goes, you may get off of Bird at that point. And we've been along the Cumberland Trail up there in the past, which kind of traverses a ridge line. It's super beautiful up there. That it's not super technical, but there's a little more technical aspect to that than the switchback section. But the coolest part is one of my favorite parts of the course, assuming you get to go on it, is the pillars, the rock pillars that at that one point you kind of come on and you have to like step across these pillars. It's a super cool area.
It's beautiful out there. I mean, obviously you're going out to do a very challenging thing, but take a moment while you're running and just kind of absorb nature, because it's a great spot to be. It's one of my favorite places.
Absolutely. So, I just talked about the Cumberland Trail, which can also connect to a number of trails, but it also connects to Ross Gap. So I know you had a little bit of an experience on that trail last year. So you want to give a rundown of that trail and kind of what happened out there?
So there's a section where you end up on like a Jeep road for a little bit.
It's pretty steep.
It is a steep Jeep road. So I was, still kind of close to cutoffs, but I was pushing it down this hill because it was now the closest I've ever been to making it to the 50K attempt. I blew right past the turn for Ross Gap. These courses are not well marked, so just consider that when you're out there. And I ended up going further down a Jeep road than I needed to, and ended up turning and coming back. So that's why I ended up buying the park trail with all the blazes on it, so I have an idea of what color I should be looking for out there without having to pull the map out.
Staying on the same side of the park, another trail that's pretty popular and seems to make its way into the race more often than not, but obviously it's not guaranteed, is the Lookout Tower Trail. That's actually where the famous Yellow Gate is right there at the trailhead there. But it's not, since it's a Jeep road, it's not super steep, but it is a long grind, big climb up there. I know in the past, Laz has used that as one of the earlier trails because it's Jeep road, it kind of helps the field spread out a little bit. But we've also gone basically up the park road and straight onto single track before too. So there's no guarantee that you're going to, get that luxury of being able to have the field spread out either.
No, you never know what you're going to get. So just kind of be aware that you might have space. You might be on a, conga line, but it's all going to depend on the hand you're dealt with the map. And it's always, according to Laz, going to be the most brutal course ever. So just keep that in mind too. Other ones out there too, kind of like some smaller connector ones. There's Spicewood Trail. It's only a couple miles long and can connect with Chimney Top, so it's in that region of the park.
Yeah, and another trail that's on that side too is Old Mac, which I think I both times I've run, we've used Old Mac, both descending. I've never gone up Old Mac, but Old Mac is a little more technical. It's not crazy technical, but it's definitely more rocky and rooty than a lot of the other park trails or that we talked about so far. Just be careful if it's wet or damp. Those rocks do get pretty slick, so especially if you're descending and trying to make a time cutoff or something, it's definitely somewhere you want to kind of be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. I've come down South Old Mac and really tried booking it to make up time. If like the whole loop is incorporated, that's roughly 7.5 miles, give or take, and almost up to 2,000 feet of gain. So just know that every park trail is pretty decently steep at some point along the way. Just a little north of North Old Mac is the Panther Branch Trail. It's like 2.25 miles with 1,000 feet of gain. So that could be included as well.
Yeah, so that's obviously not a comprehensive list of every park trail, but those are kind of some of the major, longer trails. Again, we're not going to go into any of the off-trail stuff. One other thing I would note is we are talking about the trails here, but obviously we're not showing you a map. If you show the map or use GPS, those sorts of things, you do risk a lifetime ban from the race. Laz is not exactly stoked when that happens, and people seem to do it every year. So just be really careful. Don't post anything online. Like I said, we're just talking about the trails, but trying to not be too specific.
Yeah, we just want to help you guys understand what Frozen Head State Park is all about. And you can access these any time of year, and we highly recommend it. Get out there and, enjoy the trails at different parts of the year. It doesn't have to be the Fall Classic. You can go whenever you feel like it. One of the things we do want to get into is the decision point. So, as we've mentioned, neither of us have a 50K finish or even an attempt at the 50K. You hit a point in the course roughly maybe around 10 to like 11 and a half hours we've seen for the cutoff for the decision point. And when you get there, you now have the opportunity to either go on and do the 50K or take a finish to the marathon. So tell us a little about that.
Before I get into it, I should mention that this is a Laz race. So even though we're saying marathon and 50K, these distances are absolutely not 26.2 or 31 miles. Laz obviously gets a little creative. Most likely they're going to be longer than either one of those distances, but since there's no GPS, who knows? But if you get to the decision point, you obviously have a decision to make. So you can either make a quick turn, and it's usually downhill, short jog down to get your marathon finish, which technically is still a DNF, though you do get a set of dog tags for that. Or you have the option of going for the Croy and the 50K finish, which is typically going to be a very difficult final loop with a lot of climbing. The overall cutoff for the course is 13 hours and 20 minutes. So whatever time you got left from when you get to the decision point, you got to make sure you're done with that 50K before 13 hours and 20 minutes.
Otherwise, you're just kind of walking it in and you don't get anything for it.
Yeah, because it's all or nothing with Barkley Fall Classic. So if you go for that 50K finish, you don't get a marathon finish if you miss the cutoff.
And if you're like us, when you do finish the course, you might want to enjoy a beer. So there's actually a couple breweries near Wartburg. The one we've been to is Moco Brewing. It's right there in Wartburg. Awesome little spot. We've gone after packet pickup and enjoyed a couple cold ones, but it's open till 10 p.m. So after the race, you should be able to slip by and enjoy one.
And I did want to mention Moco is also open on Sunday too, so you could always go the day after. I believe they open at 1 o'clock on Sunday. But the other brewery that's in the area, neither one of us have personally been there yet, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. But Lilypad Brewing is about 25 minutes away near Lansing. It's a pretty small operation there, but they also have a campground. So if you're looking for a place to camp, you could actually camp at the brewery. And we're actually staying pretty close to there this year, so I think we're going to be able to finally check it out.
I'm looking forward to hitting another brewery, always. To wrap things up, we want to give a huge shout out to Laz for putting this on. It allows us, normal people to have a chance at tasting the Barkley Marathons, which is really cool. It's become my favorite race, this being my 4th year of running it. I intend to put my name in every year for as long as I'm able to. So, just a big shout out and thank you for making this happen for us.
Absolutely. And we may not have covered everything. If we missed any questions, you got a couple options. You can get a sarcastic answer from the Facebook group, or you can drop a comment below and we'll give you a serious answer and then probably give you a sarcastic answer as well. But at least you'll get the serious answer first.
And when we're out there, hopefully we get a chance to meet you. We've been making a lot of friends in the years that we've been going, and it's awesome to see them, in Tennessee every year. So maybe we'll have a chance to crush some trails.
And drink some ales.